Hey, NC. Is that not as loud?
No, that's good.
Okay.
I like it.
All right.
How you doing, Phil?
I'm doing well. I'm sticking to that story. When someone asks you if you're doing well, you always say, I'm doing great. I'm doing awesome.
It's a Southern way.
Yes, it is. Fine. How about you? Oh, fine.
How's the weather?
Oh, it's good.
Bless your heart.
Thank you. Can you get the knife out of my back, please? So I've had a lot of coffee today, and I'm starting to feel a little jittery.
Drink some water.
I think I had about 4 or 5 more than I should have.
Yikes.
I went to Elmo's.
Thanks for letting me know.
I went to Elmo's, and they're like, "You want some coffee?" Yes, and I want you to keep bringing it. And here's the problem: it's like eating. You know, like you're not supposed to. Like after it takes your body 30 minutes to recognize if it's full or not, and communicate to your brain, stop eating. Well, if you eat fast, like me, you might eat more than you realize. It's the same deal with the coffee, I think. You know, like you need to wake up. So you're drinking, you just boom, 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 and then it catches up to you. At least it catches up to me. So what's on your mind, fellow North Carolinian? Anything?
I was thinking about, we got an exciting weekend this weekend here in our parts. Like the Yep Rock 20th anniversary shows going on with like Nick Lowe and Dressy Bessie.
Yeah, they're great.
The Fleshstones. Love them. And Alejandro Escobedo.
Yeah.
And and then I think the Poetry Festival is this weekend
Yeah, what's
too,
the Poetry
in
Festival?
Carlisle. So yeah, none of which I think we are able to go to, but
When's
it looks like fun.
Jackie speaking? Or
Throughout, but I think Jackie Shelton Green, who is a poet laureate, former poet laureate of North Carolina. She's from Eflin. I think she's speaking on Saturday around from like noon to 2 or something like that.
that sounds pretty
But
cool.
I hope that she can come on the show sometime. I love her
Yep.
so hard.
Well, Jackie, I'm sure you're listening right now.
Right, yeah.
So
I'll send this to her.
pick up the Hey NC
her.
phone. It's Carolina Blue. It's like Commissioner Gordon. All right. Anything else?
What about you?
Oh, you know me. I'm Captain Bringdown.
Yeah,
So.
yeah. You want to talk about politics?
Yeah. Oh, well, I guess the first I should say is I'm now a board member of Orange County Housing Authority.
Advisory board.
Advisory board. Thank you. Yes.
Volunteer advisory board.
Yes.
Which is very cool.
Yeah.
Because this is how, if you're not, you are elected into it, but this is where if you want to be a part of your community decisions, you can try to have a seat at the table. So if you're passionate about politics or making a difference in your community, this is definitely a great way to do it.
Yeah.
That's my plug.
Right.
I was on the Commission for Women and the Human Rights and Relations Commission and the Arts Commission, and I really enjoyed it and got a lot out of it. So I'm really excited for you.
Well, I'm quickly learning, and I always kind of thought like, real politics and real change was a fairly undramatic things, punctuated by very dramatic moments. But I got this giant binder full of the Section 8 housing administration policies, and it's like, ugh. this thing is cumbersome. So
yeah.
But I also was disheartened. I printed it out because I had to read this quote. I also work with a nonprofit called Mighty Neighborly, and we did a benefit for the UNC Center for Civil Rights, which was under attack by the Board of Governors for, I guess, being too liberal for standing up for healthy drinking water and victims of eugenics and things like that.
The UNC Board of Governors are no longer our friends. They used to be like in old William Friday days. Those days are gone.
And this should really, to me, it points out to me, and it should point out to everybody that a lot of these bigger decisions are generated initially by things like who you appoint to members of boards and how you work on that local level and start exercising influence, and then that local influence turns into major news and major decisions, and it's a tragedy. And to hear about both my friends in the managing attorney and senior attorney Mark Dorson and Elizabeth Haddix.
Commish.
Yeah,
You.
get terminated. They got
Yeah.
terminated. They'll be finishing up in January apparently. And while I think the UNC said they have a commitment to the Center for Civil Rights, still there's no funding. So if there's no funding, there's no center really. It may exist in name, but it sure doesn't exist in reality. But the best part,
They aren't able to take action.
I was
They
reading.
exist, but they aren't able to do anything.
Right. Yeah, they're supposed to just be educating now, as opposed to learning how to actually be lawyers in the field. The best, I had to read this article that came out today by Jane Stansel at the NNO. Steve Long, who was the Board of Governors member that really pushed for this, he's a Raleigh attorney and he's very conservative, and he thought this was just undue legal advocacy. Says it should have been done years ago, and this is the part I love. They're referring to Mark Dorson. He's a political hack who has abused university resources for years to further his liberal agenda. And I can't, if anyone would know who's a political hack, I'm probably going to say it's Steve Long. So I couldn't believe. And then it said he took offense to some of Dorson's comments during the debate. I find this whole deal where suddenly the people of the GOP are, they're victims, man. I've been hurt. No one understands me. Why can't those mean, evil liberals that are standing up for the disenfranchised get off my back?
The thing is, they probably say the same thing about Democrats and liberal people, that they think we are like that. So it's hard to have any kind of conversation, like real, true, fruitful conversation.
Right,
with the other side.
Which leads me to the other article I was reading yesterday about Cooper. First, Governor Cooper signed an executive order making gender identity characteristic of
and sexual,
of discrimination. Like you can't discriminate against someone, race, creed, colors, sex, and now gender identity, how you identify, right? Well, again, one of the Republicans who sponsored HB 2, look at Dan Bishop. He was a Mecklenburg County Mecklenburg County Republican before I get carried away. And people that aren't familiar with HB 2, was started because the Charlotte City Council decided that, hey, we need to do something about protecting folks that identify as transgender. And then, and again, this is always interesting. As soon as something like that happens, it seems like the state GOP has no problem with overreaching into a municipal affair. Like, they're always about getting government off your backs until, they feel they need to correct something. He says, Bishop urged anyone still prosaic enough to have regards for rights to physiological privacy to call Governor Cooper. I guess in your outrage, and it's just kind of like this whole deal, like somehow someone else being somehow a threat to your sexuality or gender identity, or in the case of the UNC Center for Civil Rights, somehow someone standing up for another person, somehow is offensive or it hurts you. Like that's a whack sense of priorities. I feel whack. I actually said whack.
Yeah.
So that's my.
I agree with you.
Yes. So what we got coming up on this episode?
Sarah Shook. I am so excited. It's like I've been trying to hang out with her for years, but she just got too busy.
Yeah.
And been meaning to have her and John over for dinner for years.
Years. Yeah.
And
well,
now we get to have them on.
This is our new way for having our friends over. Please come see us in the podcast.
Talk to us, please.
Well, there's we're busy, they're busy, everybody's busy, and it's hard to make those schedules sort of mesh. So Sarah's going to come. I'm not sure she's going to play or not, but maybe she will, maybe she won't. It's no big thing either way. But we'll see y'all in a few minutes. Bye. All right, we're back. Yep. So we're pleased to have Sarah Shook.
Hello.
Out there in podcast land.
So how's it going?
It's going great. I just woke up and it's good to see some smiling faces first thing in the morning with my coffee.
So Shannon, do you want to start off?
Oh, yeah. So I had like, you know, that Facebook memory that pops up.
Oh yeah.
2 years ago, we were at your release show of Sidelong, and it was like picture of me and you and Mary Huff and who else?
Stephen Judge.
And who else? Jeff
Everybody.
Rose.
Yeah.
No, but it was us specifically.
Oh.
And I was like, that was such a fun night.
That was a lot of fun.
So did you release the Sidelong yourself like 2 years ago?
Yeah, so we released Sidelong independently. I guess that was the October 15th of 2015. And who else played that show? That was Dexter and Six String Drag.
Yeah.
That was a really, really fun night. So yeah, we released that independently, and then this April, Bloodshot Records picked it up and released it on April 28th. So it's been out for a while, and it's kind of weird to have something that's been out for 2 years that we're still touring on and still playing a lot of the songs in our sets. But it's kind of cool to see it grow. It's cool to see it sort of be introduced to new folks that otherwise just we didn't, independently we didn't have the resources or the means to like get it out where it is now.
Now, how did that relationship with Bloodshot happen, anyway?
Well, that's a great story, actually. So 2 years ago, September before last, we were at Americana Fest. I was there with our manager and guitarist for a few days.
That was in Nashville?
In Nashville. And we had been talking with Bloodshot, like sort of your, what you would imagine emails, exchange of emails and like phone calls here and there. And we were very aware that we were being courted by the label. So I agreed to have drinks with Rob, who is one of the owners, and Josh Sanger, who is the publicist over there. And so we're like sitting at this bar in Nashville during Americana Fest. There's 1 million people milling around. Everything's happening, and we're drinking whiskey and smoking cigarettes and talking about our favorite bands and music and this and that. And so then it just got to this point in the night, and I think everyone was kind of relaxed enough and realized that like we were getting along just fine. And Rob was like, well, in case it hasn't been made clear, we would like to work with you. And I was like, y'all know I sent you a demo like 10 fucking years ago, right?
Oh, you want me now?
And he had no idea what I was talking about, and I was like, oh yeah, and like, I mean, the timing was terrible. I didn't have a band. Like, it made sense that nothing ever came of that, but it was just funny to be like, full circle. 10 years ago, I sent you this demo of like just me and guitar playing these songs or whatever. So there was a lot of discussion and debate within the band about how much everything would change with us signing with Bloodshot. They have a very rigorous touring schedule that was certainly a bigger commitment than any of us had ever made to being away from family and being on the road. And it was just incessant for about a month and a half there, just like constantly talking about it. And finally we were just like, this is like the next step. Like this is what makes sense for us to do.
Right.
And if we can figure out a way to make this work, then like we should do this. And my son was totally supportive of it. And, even with me being like, you gotta realize, dude, that like, this means I'm not gonna have you as often as I have. And he's like, Mom, you've been doing this for 10 years. Yeah. And now you have this opportunity to like, have success at something that you've been working really hard on. Like, you should go for it.
Yeah, I remember before the Disarmers came about, you were pretty adamant about how your relationship with your son was the big priority and how it would affect, your ability to get out and play, and that you were fine with it. And it sounds like, at least now, that he's at a stage where that's a much better proposition for you.
Yeah, I mean that was years and years where you know, when Sarah Shook and the Devil was together, we were together for 3.5 years, and I think we only played maybe 2 or 3 shows out of state. And that was the reason, you know, I was very committed to, like, I'm a mom first and a, you know, musician and an artist second, and like that's where my priorities are. And I think having Jonah be a few years older, and sort of able to understand, you know, when he was 5, I could be like, hey, buddy,
Yeah.
I'm gonna go on tour. Is that
Right.
cool?
See
Like,
ya.
he wouldn't,
Yeah.
you know, he wouldn't know what that meant. And I think he's at a good age where he can kind of take into account like what's being said and make a decision. And like having him be supportive of it was everything, because I told my band, I'm like, if my son says no, then I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry, Bloodshot. Like, it'd be great, but you know, mom priorities
Right.
always are, you know, they come first.
Right. Now, how did you initially start playing music? Because, as you said, it's been 10 years since you submitted a demo to Bloodshot, so you've been at this for a while.
Yeah. I've been writing songs since I was 9, and I started playing out when Jonah was very small. I think he was about 1 year old when I played my first show. And there was a woman who was associated with the Chatham Arts Council, Molly
Mhm.
Matlock, and I think she heard a demo of mine somehow, and was really, really supportive. And like, she was the person that sort of gave me my start. And she booked me at the Bynum back porch or front porch series,
Oh, yeah.
and at Shikori. And I was really fortunate, like, in a lot of ways, because of that inn. Like, she helped me sort of get going.
I love that. That's a great story.
Yeah.
Women helping women.
Women helping women.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
So, now, tell me how you grew up, because from what I recall, you were telling me you were like homeschooled and everything, and then your folks were fairly religious.
Yes.
Okay. And how did that affect you growing up?
Well, I was homeschooled all the way through. I never went to school. My parents were very conservative Christians. I'm not really sure what the right, I guess non-denominational. But you know, they were very strict, and they had very rigid rules and regulations, especially like pertaining to music. We weren't allowed to listen to anything that wasn't like Christian worship music or classical music.
Wow.
And my parents have evolved and grown so much over the years, and this is like something that like my mom and I have an ongoing conversation about, and it's really interesting because you know, some article will come out and we'll get some press, and it's like, Sarah's parents were very strict and religious, and my mom's like, can you just like say that like we're not like that anymore? And I'm like, yes, as a matter of fact, I usually say that, and because the press is the press and they want to sensationalize everything, they leave that out.
Yeah.
But my parents are wonderful people, and it did take them some time, but they have been totally supportive, and it's really cute to see my mom get excited about music, and she'll be like, oh my god, I just saw that so and so is playing near here. Like, it's really cool to see.
So was it? The relationship changed because you were out of the house and doing your thing, and that sort of allowed them, I guess, maybe to stretch and grow in ways that they hadn't before.
It took some time. I mean, I basically had an escape marriage. Like, I got married to get out of my house.
Oh, okay.
Which is like where Jonah came from, thank heavens. But it did take time. You know, it's probably just been the last few years that things have been really, really good between us. And honestly, like, our relationship improved the most when I came out to them as an atheist. And it was almost like they were like, oh, that's what's wrong with Sarah.
But they're cool with it.
They're cool with it,
Okay.
and they're supportive, and like, you know, I respect them, and I feel like the respect is mutual, and yeah, we're definitely in a good place.
I think it's really interesting though how, like, I think Phil and I, we did have parents that were into music, so we you know, had it in the house. You know, you had a very specific type of music, and you play a very different type of music. So it's like you broke free and had this, you were able to get, I don't know, acquire your own music taste. Like what was in you to kind of help you break free from that? Because sometimes people, people under their parents' wing, they just go with the flow, and this is my house, and I'm not going to rock the boat. And
Right. Well, we had this old piano in the hallway of my childhood home that probably had never been tuned. It sounded terrible, but that was the piano that I started writing songs on. And then when I was 15 or 16, a friend of mine from church lent me a guitar because I was determined. I was like, I need something that like I can like pick up and take outside and like sit down and play. You can't do that with a piano, obviously. So this friend of mine loaned me a guitar, and I got one of those huge like chord position posters. And so like that's just what I did. I just like sat there and like looked at this poster and taught myself how to play. And so with that, it's like I really didn't have any musical experience at all as far as like modern music, contemporary music that wasn't religious or classical. So I think I was about 17 or 18. I got my first job, and of course, all of my friends at my new job were like horrified that I didn't know who the Gorillas were, or like whatever, fill in the blank. And so they started like feeding me music to like take home, and I would literally like wait until my parents went to bed and like lie under my blankets with my headphones on. Just
so all this contraband.
Totally contraband, and I was just blown away. Like everything was just like I've never heard music that sounds like this, and it's like Belle and Sebastian or like the Decemberists,
right.
and it's just like blowing my mind. And it's I've lived 18 years on this planet without ever hearing anything like this. And then my best friend gave me some Elliott Smith, and I was just like a goner, and I was like, this is so good. This is so like real and vulnerable, and his guitar playing is just insanely good. And then over the years, when I started playing out, an ex-boyfriend introduced me to country music, and he had like, not like a huge collection, but he had a modest collection of like really solid country albums from that like sort of golden era of country music. And when I first heard it, again, it's just like hearing all of this for the first time. It felt like coming home. It felt like this part of me that had been missing. And I'm like, I get this. Like, I identify with this so strongly. Like, this is really important. And then later on, I got introduced to sort of like the golden era of punk music, and like that also is same sentiments where it's just like, oh my god, like I can't believe I've lived so many years and like I haven't been listening to this for like my whole life. They should have been feeding me this when I was 2. So I think over the years that's sort of something that gets said a lot in the press. It's just like, oh, her music is a blend of punk and country, and it's just like, it's and it is, but it's I don't know. I think one of the things that's really important about that is I think that in order to make honest country music and honest punk music, like you have to totally understand what it's like to be dirt fucking poor. And you see it, I see it all the time, like in Nashville, like these people that come from money and have money, and they're spending, $3,000 on a nudie suit and like strumming a guitar with their like $300 haircut, and they're like, I'm a country music player, I know, and it's like, no, you're not poor, you don't understand what fucking country music is, because it comes from struggle. And it comes from oppression. And it comes from, like, not knowing where your next meal is coming from. And, like, do I want to pay the power bill or do I want to eat? Like, these are the things that make country music great.
Yeah.
Struggle.
Comes out of necessity. It sounds like you certainly had, like, this fire you were born with in terms of music. Like, you didn't have to listen to it to have it within you. You were writing songs before you were even influenced, really, by the people that inspire you. That's pretty cool. Not everybody has that.
Yeah, I think that music comes from who you are. I think any art comes out of who you are. and I think that that's why it's so important for people to continue to like grow themselves as people, not just as artists or musicians or what have you, but growing as a person and evolving as a person, and being critical of yourself when you fuck up, and analyzing yourself and being like, oh, I don't want to make that mistake again. Like the more you improve as a person, like the more your art is genuine and real and something of worth.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was going to say, it seems like, at least with the record that's currently out, Sidelong, that there's anger that is directed outward, but there seems to be a lot of anger that is directed inward in terms of, I guess, self-sabotage and, I don't know, poor choices.
Yes. Yeah.
Is that now, to me, punk always was fairly outward directed, whereas country, definitely had that heritage of like, please stop me before I make the same mistake again and again and again.
Yeah.
So was that something? I mean, it seems like this record really, you seem to be sort of wrestling with the world you're in and your place in it, and how did that inform your songs?
Well, something to consider when listening to Sidelong or the next album, or anything I write, is that I'm constantly going to be struggling to find my place, because I was raised to believe that the only reason I existed was to be a wife and a housekeeper and a mother and a person who raises kids. So like my entire basis of my reality for years was just like, and I hated that. Like I resented that, and I didn't want to be a girl, because I was like, if that's what being a female is,
Right.
I don't want to be that.
Right.
Like I got shit to do, and I know it.
Yeah. I had other interests.
Exactly.
I mean, I love my kid, but there's a me here. There's an individual.
Yeah.
I've got things that
And
I want to do.
I think my parents struggled with that too, because I don't think that they necessarily believed that. I think that they were being told that, and they were sort of just complying with it. But they struggled with that. And
Yeah.
I mean, I remember my older sister being really adamant that she was going to be a marine biologist for like a week, because that's what Catherine did. She would just be like, well, I'm going to be a, whatever, fill in the blank. And I remember my mom being like she wanted to support that. And she was, I could see her struggling with that, because like, that's a really cool job. And like, it's a really intense, labor intensive job. And she wanted to support it, but like, she just couldn't quite get there. And fast forward 15 years, whatever. And, it's weird that I have two sisters, one older, one younger, and all three of us had almost identical upbringings and just went completely different directions.
What did your younger sister do?
My younger sister's in the Navy. She's stationed in Rota, Spain. And I mean, she was like the biggest surprise, because we had no idea what she was going to do. She was like living in my parents' basement. She was very unmotivated. And one morning she woke up and she was like, I'm quitting cigarettes, I'm quitting coffee, I'm quitting alcohol, and I'm going to like start doing martial arts, and I'm going to join the Navy. And
Yeah, nothing dramatic about that.
And I mean, like,
Discipline.
she just made a decision,
Yeah.
and just like, we were blown away. And she seems really happy. She seems to like it. But my parents are like totally supportive of a woman being in the military. Like they completely support her. They support me. My older sister has a double master's in English. She went to school forever, and lives in Nashville. She has 4 little girls, who are the cutest. Everyone in my family has red hair except for me. Yeah.
You lost.
I lost. So yeah, all my nieces are these cute little redheads. They're just awesome. They're great kids.
No, but I know what you mean. I think Phil and I talked about this, how our parents were kind of like, there was this thing carved out for them. You have a job, you get a good job, you might be miserable at that job, but you go home, you make dinner, it's just like everything is just kind of carved out.
Right.
And
Dreaming was not an option.
Right.
You had to have a backup plan.
It was
Right,
out of
right.
necessity, and I think it also that came from their parents' generation, where they did struggle to just make ends meet. So it was just like the next generation was like, okay, I'm going to be a step better.
Right.
I'm going to get an office job
Yeah.
or work somewhere else beside the farm.
Yeah.
But
that's
it's still so.
You
I mean,
couldn't
it's
put
just
what you
kind of like
gained
the
at risk.
evolution of
Yeah.
like, oh well, maybe now's the time where we can
Yeah.
actually find more time for us and have that,
Yeah,
quality.
Yeah, because as a parent, like you want your kid to exceed what you did.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
so to them, it's just like, well, this is the way I lived my life,
Yeah.
and I feel like if you did this, but these other things, like it would be better. You
Yeah.
know what I mean?
Right. Yeah, you get really risk averse with your kids because you think, oh gosh, I struggled, or whatever. I don't want them to struggle,
Yeah.
but perhaps the struggle is where it's at. That's
Yeah.
the defining moment in your life. I mean, I could certainly say, my folks were raised in a rural or semi-rural environment by people that had survived the Depression and gone to World
Yeah.
War II and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And the idea that you would grow, as a man, you would grow your hair long. To my father, even, who was pretty mellow about that kind of stuff, was just like, why are you risking stuff that your grandmother and I have worked? Yeah, we're advancing this family. You're putting stuff at risk when you do that, and it was kind of like I can't, I don't know what to tell you, And but I remember always like with music, like playing music, like, well, you better make sure you have a backup plan, things like that,
You need to
can't-
do something to get paid.
Right. And I see kind of the fear now. You don't want your kid to suffer. No one wants their kid to suffer. But on the other token, you want your kid to be happy. And
Right.
that is the tussle, I think, is, what it is.
I think that's eventually what came down to like the bottom line for my parents is like they had these ideas and then they realized that like, maybe these ideas aren't like maybe our kids shouldn't be cookie cutter kids. Maybe they should pursue their own, goals and ideas of what they want their life to be like. And I think like they just got to this place where they realized like these are my daughters. Like as long as they're happy and as long as they're safe, what do I have to complain about? Like they're living their life to the fullest. They're like living their best life. So it's good to be in that spot with them for sure.
And can you, if I know they are more accepting of you, can you be accepting of what their choices now? Because I know growing up I was not accepting of my parents' choices.
Yeah. I mean, like that's a I guess kind of a convoluted answer. I mean, some of it, yeah. My mom had an incredibly hard life. Very, very terrible childhood. And, for her, like her faith and her religion saved her and got her, like literally like saved her and like got her to this place where she's like this cute, sweet, happy little woman and you would have no idea that like she had any sort of troubles in her life at all. And so I certainly respect religion and faith's role in that. But I don't agree with a lot of the things that they believe, and they don't agree with the things I believe. And it's good to be at a place where we can just like set those things aside and be like, let's just like we don't even need to talk about that. Like, how are you? Like what are you doing?
Phil and I are on two different sides here.
Yeah.
Phil's the religious one. I'm more agnostic or atheist, and it's just like.
Yeah, but I think even in terms of
I feel like religion was born out of slavery and oppression, and it was a tool.
Populace,
like developed way back, and I mean that's just my belief. I mean, but I do, growing up in the South, and your whole family being religious and going to church, and that's like your social network.
Yeah,
in that community, it was like, I totally saw the value in it. And of course I adore and love these people and I support them and support whatever they want to believe. So I see the value, and who knows, maybe one day I might need that, have a change of heart and need that support and be like, I mean, who knows?
It's a really complicated issue.
It is totally complicated.
Even for me.
It's personal.
Yeah. I mean, I was not raised in a tradition like that, in a religious tradition. I mean, my mom was raised Southern Baptist and my father was raised Catholic, which ensured that I did not have to go to church. My grandparents kind of, they tried to do it, but I mean, growing up in the South with Baptists, it just, and a young person and a person that, was struggling, just like anybody with their sexuality and with friends that were struggling in different ways and sort of just the, living, 40 miles away from Jerry Falwell. It was just such a distasteful thing.
Yeah.
And it really, for me, my mini religious life I had has been more like me putting one step forward in that. Like, it's been something I've sought out and looked for and thought about it. And, you know, both in a spiritual way, you know, what resonates with me, but also in a practical, like what church, if I'm going to be a member of a church and they're all organized religions, then I'm actually picking what I want.
Yeah.
I'm not going along, you know,
Yeah.
I'm not going to be a Catholic because I don't believe in a whole lot of the things that they believe in. So, you know, when it came to something, I was like, I want the church that I'm part of to be socially progressive because it's like a club. Whether or not you believe in God is almost immaterial in some ways.
Yeah.
It's about what they stand for, you know, so
It's
it's
political.
it is very political in
Yeah.
a lot of ways. You know, you are shopping
Yeah,
in a lot of ways.
exactly.
And, you know, it's sort of like where you spending your time and effort and what is the outcome of that time and effort. And that, again, you can believe in God or not believe in God all the long day. That's a totally different thing, I think, than church.
Yeah.
Or
Oh,
organization,
totally.
You know.
Yeah.
So it's I mean, even for me, I mean, I'm not like one of those people that's like, you know, of course God is X or Y or Z. I mean, I think of it as a lens. You know, I think that's like the same with Buddhism or Islam is all those are a lens to perceive something that is maybe beyond your reality. Whatever that is, you don't know, but
Right.
this is how you choose to look at it. But you have choice.
Yeah.
You know? And I think that's the problem for me with a lot of organized religion is
Everybody
They-
has an agenda, man.
yeah, the religion imposes the choice.
Right.
It should be the other way around. So, anyway.
Anyway, wow.
Yeah.
I just totally like
That was a
about
moment.
religion.
That was it. Yeah. Dun, dun,
Amen.
dun.
Dun,
Yeah.
dun, dun.
Right. So how did the Disarmers come to be exactly? Can you explain that?
Sure. So Sarah Shook and the Devil broke up.
Which
and-
I love that name.
Yeah, that was a great
Thank
name.
you. Yeah, that was kind of
And how did
sticking
you-
it to my parents.
Oh,
I was
okay.
Like,
Yeah,
can I
alright.
name my band
It's-
that will piss my parents off
it's
the nose?
really-
Oh, yeah, I would imagine it's pretty
Yeah,
good. Pretty good one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They didn't fall for it. They're like, yeah, Sarah's always up to some
We
shit.
love you.
Like-
Yeah. Or they like, we love you,
Yeah.
sweetie, and you're like, ah.
Sarah Shook and the motherfuckers.
Yeah.
That's the next
As long as you're happy, dear. Yeah.
So that band sort of dissolved along with my relationship with our upright bassist, long-term relationship. Eric Peterson, my guitarist, and I were like, well, everyone else has jumped ship, but we should not give up. Like, we don't really know what the fuck we're gonna do.
Mhm.
But let's just like keep hanging out and like playing music together and like, you know, having beers together and doing everything that we kind of did in the Devil, but like without the other two members. So we like threw together a band that lasted for like 2 months called Sarah Shook and the Dirty Hands, and it was a lot of fun. But it was just like we were just the drunkest buffoons like imaginable. We had no business on the stage. Like, it was ridiculous.
It wasn't practical.
It was,
right?
it didn't work out. It was very short lived, and Eric was just like, this is not the direction that I want to go in. This is not what I'm looking for. And I'm like, you're the dude that's like stuck with me for all these years, so I'm gonna, you know, pay attention.
Mhm.
So that band broke up, and then John Howie Jr. was like, man, like you guys have been talking about like adding a drummer to your band forever. Like you should like let me audition. And I was like, you play drums?
And it's funny because I had the same. And people used to say that to me when I was like when he was just starting to do all this. Like, huh?
Yeah. No, like I had absolutely no idea. Then I was just like, oh man, this like guy that's a songwriter,
That's so
country
cute.
singer, is
He
like
asked
he's
for an
probably
audition
terrible
then?
on
Yeah.
drums. I was like, this is gonna be awkward. And then we had this audition, and I was like, oh yeah, you're hired. We're good.
Yeah.
Let's keep moving forward, folks. So then we added, we found an upright bassist, who I never talk about because that didn't end well, and like, fuck that guy.
Okay then.
So, then, you know, we had to let him go literally, like, in the mixing process of Sidelong. Like, things just got so bad, and he was just being so passive-aggressive and awful that, like, we were like, dude, like, we just can't. Like, we can't deal with you anymore.
terrible.
So we found Aaron Oliva. Aaron had just moved back from Nashville. And he'd been doing that like Nashville thing where it's like you
Right.
play upright bass for 4 fucking hours,
Wow.
like and with like a revolving cast of musicians. And so he's like he's had a lot of experience. So we added Aaron to the mix, and like things started getting like really okay. Now we're like we're right on the cusp of being in the direction of where we want to go. And pretty shortly after that, Phil Sullivan, who was the lap steel player in The Devil, hit me up and he's like, "Yep, I'm ready to join the band again." And I was like, "Oh my god! Like here we go! Like this is it." So yeah, it's 5 of us. It's a lot of people in a van on the road, but but it's great and musically it's exactly the direction that I was hoping to go in. So like it came together, and I think Eric's happy. I'm happy.
It's a great album.
Yeah, and if I remember correctly, Eric was really insistent that it was shit or get, basically.
Oh my
I don't waste my
God.
time. Don't waste my time. I don't want to waste my time.
Because the Disarmers, like I was treating the Disarmers exactly how I treated the Devil, which was like we play local shows and like we get drunk and we make friends and we have a good time. And that was just like fine with me because I felt like, I had already been pretty clear that like I have my son 3 days a week and those 3 days a week are fucking holy. Like nobody gets to fuck with that. And so I thought everything was going great. And then Eric sends this message out and like, he's a man of few words. And this message was like paragraphs and paragraphs. And I was just like, oh my God, who are you? And what have you done with my guitars? But yeah, in a nutshell, he was just like, look, if we are not going to tour, if we are not going to have merch, if we are not going to put out an album, if we are just going to do this, like we play local shows and get drunk thing, that's fine. But you need to tell me that so I can adjust my expectations. And I was like,
Yeah.
well, that's clear as a
That'll
bell.
light a fire.
Yeah, and basically, I think the source of his frustration was that Ian Schreier, the chief engineer over at Manifold, had like been pursuing us to make an album, and I was just like, yeah, I'll have lunch with you sometime. And then like I never did, and so Eric was just like, dude, we've got this dude that like basically runs the most technologically advanced studio on the Eastern Seaboard, who is asking us to make a full length album at his studio.
Are you
and
crazy?
You're like,
Yeah.
you're dropping the ball. What the fuck are you doing with your life? So I got that message from Eric, and I think it was the next day. Or the day after I met with Ian, and I was like, look, man, let's like, my mea culpa, like apologies for dropping the ball on this, but like, let's get together and talk about this full length album deal. So we had lunch, we talked about it, and made a plan, recorded Sidelong, and here we are.
So did Eric force you to like kind of confront, you don't ever strike me as being an overly ambitious person, but clearly you have ambition. If you want to be on, if you're on Bloodshot and you're touring.
I don't have ambition. Like, I fucking hate ambition. No, it was, fucking releasing Sidelong was one of the worst things I've ever done. I mean,
hello, Bloodshot.
I know. I was literally in the ER twice with panic attacks.
Wow.
Because I didn't want it. I didn't want success. I did not want to be out there touring. I didn't want my name out there. I didn't want my face out there. Like,
why?
I hate fame. I hate what it does to people. It ruins friendships. It destroys families. It fucks everything up, and it's fake. Like, that's my problem with fame. That's my problem with celebrity. Is it's all fucking fake, and like I got no time for that.
Yeah.
So it was really, really tough.
So how do you deal with it then?
I got to a point where I just look at it as like, this is my job. Like, this is what I have to do. And most of the time, like when we're on the road, I can maintain. And like, we play a show, and then usually afterwards I go to the merch table. I like meet people.
Yeah.
And every once in a while I'm just like, guys, I can't do it tonight. Like, I just can't fucking meet another person and, take another fucking selfie. Like, I just can't.
Yeah.
I'm emotionally fucking exhausted.
Yeah.
And, I'm lucky to like play with music with people who are supportive, and we look forward to practice when we practice, and it's not just like going to be this battle of the egos. We're very collaborative, and like we look out for each other.
And you're prepping a follow up now, right? You have an album in the can, or is it done?
Oh yeah, it's done.
Wow.
And
Congratulations.
thank
Yeah.
you. Yeah, I'm so fucking happy with it. When we recorded Sidelong, again, like, I didn't even want to fucking make that record. Like, I didn't
Okay.
even want to do that.
All right.
And the only way that I could deal with it was to just get drunk. And, like, the entire time we were in the studio, like, I was loud, like,
Wow.
passing out in a fucking corner of loud. And so a couple of weeks back, I listened to Sidelong for the first time in, like, a year.
Mm-hmm.
And I was just, like, kind of blown away. There were a lot of things I forgot about. Like, I forgot about, like, the harmonies and,
Yeah.
like, all the, like, jazzy things that are, like, very in studio, whatever. But I listened to it, and then I listened to the rough mixes that I had for this next album, and I was just like, oh my god. And, like, when we went into the studio to make Years, which is the title of the next album, I was determined. I was like, I am not going to do that. Like, I'm not going to get drunk. I want to be totally present. I
Mm-hmm.
want to be totally aware.
All
And I
right.
want to have complete control over myself and over my voice.
Mm.
And listening back to back, listening to those two albums, it's just like, so it was just like, yes,
Day or night kind of
good
thing.
call, Shook. All right.
So, when's that record coming out?
April of 2018.
So, how do you handling? I guess there's inflated expectations. I would say for this.
Dude, so that's why I listened to these
Oh,
albums
okay.
back to back, because, like, I was just like, there's been such good press about Sidelong, and it's
Mhm.
just like this huge thing. And, like, obviously, you're putting out a second album.
The
like,
sophomore,
oh my god, the
yeah,
sophomore,
record,
yeah. You want it to be, you know, just as good. And so I was like, I'm just gonna make myself listen to these albums back to back, and I was so stressed out about it, and I was just like, oh my god, like, this is so good. Like, this is so fucking good. I'm very happy with this. I'm happy with everybody's performances. I'm happy with the songs. I've got no worries about that. I think it's gonna do just fine. And it's like stepping outside the bounds of country, and it's kind of going, like, there are very, very traditional country songs on it, don't get me wrong, but there are also songs that are just, like, pushing every fucking boundary of the
Okay.
genre. And I'm really excited about that. I
Can't
haven't
wait to hear it.
yeah, I haven't
Yeah.
heard songs that sound like that before, and I'm pretty excited to sort of take a step that's like could possibly, like, introduce us to, like, a completely different audience and demographic of people.
Well, let me ask you this. Over the past couple of years, with all the buzz with Sidelong and, you know, Bloodshot, you've been on Rolling Stone Country, and what's your proudest moment over the past couple of years with your music?
More than just a moment, I would say something that's really meaningful to me is going on tour and being hundreds of miles from home, in a place I've never been, in a town I've never been to, and just having a shit ton of people singing along.
Wow.
Like, that is, because to me, like, and it's not an ego thing, it's just like, oh my god, like, you get it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, like, you've been listening to this
Your
because
tribe.
it means something to you.
You found your tribe.
Yeah.
All the way
Yeah.
across
So,
the country.
simultaneously validating and maybe a little weird too.
Yeah. Yeah. It's,
I don't know you people.
I'm like, oh, you understand my pain? I'm sorry.
Well, so that brings me to a point. You know, we talked a little bit. We talked about religion, so now let's talk about politics. You always struck me as someone who's.
Or we could say activism.
It's, well, I would say that in this case, it's not just activism, the personal being political. You know, your background has informed what you care about in the political arena. How do you do that, I guess? I mean, what is it that has made you, I've noticed, over the past couple of years, you've been much more assertive about what is important to you. What is important to you, and is it coming from that upbringing and that experience of being a woman?
Well, I mean, part of the problem with the way that I was raised is that all the things that I was, like, being told to focus on and focusing on, it just sort of cloistered away this whole other reality of, like, serious problems specifically within, like, our society and culture. And it wasn't until the last couple of years that, you know, I started educating myself, which everyone has the fucking responsibility to do. But educating myself about the struggles of people who aren't like me, or don't necessarily have like my story. And it's a really big deal. You know, I knew that I was attracted to girls and boys when I was like 9, you know, like, and I knew that like that's something I could never fucking tell my parents at that time, at that age. Because it would just immediately be like, you know, well, you're, you know, that's wrong.
Call the
That's wrong.
Exorcist.
Yeah. And so, you know, imagine being like a 9-year-old kid and being like, oh man, like I can fall in love with a girl or I can fall in love with a boy. I can't talk to my family about this. I can't talk to anybody I know about this because everyone I knew was religious because of, you know, we were all homeschooled. We went to church, like our socialization was church and like homeschool group once a week. And so I didn't even understand like the struggles that people within the LGBTQ community face because I didn't know that I was part of it. Like it's it's like this huge thing. And then, you know, I came out to my parents as bi when I was like 19, and it did not go well. And I think like they've definitely, you know, come to accept and be like, oh my God, like it doesn't matter. You know what I mean? Like love is love. But yeah, I think that my upbringing sort of, it didn't really help me out as far as my view of women. And I, by my own admission, I was a misogynist for most of my life because I was taught that like women didn't really have value other than to sort of fill these very specific, very stringent gender roles. And so it took time for me to, and like I had to educate myself and be like, no, like women do get catcalled and they do get harassed and they do, you know, rape culture is a thing despite what a lot of people think. And like, you know, it's frustrating. Like this Me Too campaign, I had to get off social media because I was just like, I can't, not because of the women, but I was like, I just cannot handle another dude being a dude. Like, well, I don't really see this as a problem, or like fill in the blank with every fucking opposing statement that can be made. Some dude has made it in response to the Me Too campaign. And the thing is, it's like, look, you were never a woman and you have not had a woman's experience. And when tens of thousands of women are taking to social media to be like, yo, this is a problem, maybe you should just fucking shut up and listen.
Give us the floor.
Sit down.
Let us
shut
speak.
up. Exactly. You know, we don't need your opinion because it's just an opinion. We're telling you what a real factual problem is. So just like listen, you know.
Yeah.
Now, did this? I mean, is that sort of what led you and Erica Libero to do the Manifest Festival?
So that's a great story. I love Erica. So I saw Erica's band Henbrain twice within like a couple of months, and I was just blown away. I was like, oh my God. Like, I don't listen to that music, but I was just like, this is a really, really technically proficient band, and Erica's stage presence is amazing. So I think I met her, I guess that was a couple years back now. But I mean, I can't remember who hit who up, but we were like, hey, we should get together and just like come up with some kind of punch list of really simple things that we can do to sort of improve the music scene locally. And so we met, and it was just like instant, so many ideas, like, and Manifest Music Festival was one of them. Having a festival where, you know, every single band that plays has at least one woman or one female identifying person or non-binary person. And the Safe Space Sticker Initiative, that was also an idea of ours. And like, these aren't huge, complicated ideas. They're just really simple, and they're not, you know, we're not painting them in this like, oh, this is just like the best thing ever. It's like, no, it's like really simple, and it's, you know, every single band that plays should have a woman. You know, if you're building a bill, like, make sure that like you're including those people.
Some friends of mine are in this band in Richmond, Positive No, and it's a female lead singer, and her husband is guitar player, and then, you know, they have a drummer and bass player, but they will only play shows if another band has a woman in it.
Yeah.
Like, that's their thing.
Yeah.
They will not play a show that has a bill where it's all dudes. They have to have somebody else included. You know, another gender
That's
represented.
really important.
Yeah.
That's really important. And we definitely strive for that. We don't always succeed.
Yeah.
But it's nice to have a relationship with your booking agency where you can be like, look, man, this is important to us. And have them be like, yeah, we'll do everything we can.
Absolutely.
You know?
That's where you kind of force the conversation.
Yeah.
And, sometimes those conversations are uncomfortable, but they gotta fucking happen.
Yeah. Totally.
It's okay to be uncomfortable.
Yeah.
All right, Phil has left.
Phil is left. Ha ha ha.
It's Sarah and Shannon. I'm so happy you're here because I feel like we've never really hung out. You know?
I
It's
know.
like we're at shows and it's too, crowded or too many people come at you or it's too loud or, and we've never really had a chance to chat.
Yeah.
So how's it going?
It's going good. How are you?
Good. So how's Jonah? I know you moved. God, you were on tour at the West Coast. How was West Coast?
It was
Your
awesome.
pictures were awesome.
It was so cool. It was really cool.
You went to like Salt Flats
Oh yeah, yeah.
with the ones in
Utah.
Utah. Very cool.
It was
it
surreal.
stinky?
It wasn't stinky at all. I was surprised. It was weird. It was just like being on another planet.
Yeah.
And yeah, the landscape out there, the mountains, the foliage, like everything's different.
Totally.
I fell in love with New Mexico. I fucking fell in love with New Mexico. I had some very, like, I am not a spiritual person at all. I had some very spiritual moments in New Mexico. No drugs were involved. It was just me.
I think it's the energy out there, like the
It's
rocks and stuff.
really, really special.
Yeah.
It has, like they call it the land of enchantment for a reason, I guess. But I was remarking to Eric when we were driving through there, I was just like, man, can you imagine, like, if you're born and raised here, this doesn't even impress you,
Yeah.
and we're just like, oh my god, look at that
I know.
mountain,
They
dude."
probably come to North Carolina and like, it's so green.
Exactly. Yeah. Like there's just trees everywhere. Yeah. So West Coast was really good. I had no idea what to expect. I've never been to the West Coast, much less like toured the West Coast with my band, and I had no idea how it was going to go. It was a huge risk, and it's really awesome playing music with people who believe in you and believe in us as a group enough to like take that really big risk with you. So yeah, it was awesome playing at, the fucking Echo in LA,
Yeah.
and having people sing along. Like, it was awesome. It was awesome.
And then you came all the way back. You drove the van.
Yeah.
You and Erica, right?
Me and Eric and Erica drove from Sacramento, California to Kansas City. And then Erica flew from Kansas City to Florida. I just feel like people kept getting out of the van and flying places. It was really weird. It was really, really weird. And then, yeah, Eric and I drove from Kansas City to Greer, South Carolina for a show. And then up to Shikori on that Saturday.
Yeah, you had so busy. You had Shikori, you had Manifest,
Yeah.
you moved.
Yeah, so I moved the week before we left for tour. I had to be completely moved out of that place. Literally the morning we left for tour, I was moving shit. Like, I moved the last of my stuff.
I know
out
that
of
was
my
super
place.
hard for you too.
It
You were in
was.
this place that was your own for so long.
Yeah, it was really tough. And like being on the road is hard enough, and then like having these moments where it's just like, oh my god, like when I get home, like I don't have home. Like when I get home, I got like a brand new place.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
You gotta create this new space.
Exactly. And I'm really, really, I feel really fortunate to live where I live now. And Jonah's very happy there, and he digged it, and I think that's really cool.
And he's doing good.
He's doing good. I gotta tell you, like, so I didn't, moving is really stressful, and I moved a lot when I was a kid, and so I was sort of anticipating him, having a hard time. Exactly, having a hard time adjusting. And when we lived at my old place, like, he was deathly afraid of the dark, and any unexplained noise he would just get very, very anxious over. And so this place we're living now, like, there are 2 cats and a dog. And so our first night there, he'd be like, Mom, what was that sound? I'd be like, Jonah, we live with 2 cats and a dog now, so chances are pretty good it's one of the pets, and like, you're just gonna have to get used to that. And so by the third morning that I had him, he's only been there for 3 days. I my alarm goes off and I hit snooze and I was like, oh man, I gotta get up, and I get up and I open the door to my bedroom to go down the hall to the bathroom, and Jonah is standing there in the dark hallway, completely dressed with a backpack on, shining a little flashlight on me. He's like, Mom, I gotta go. The fact that he was standing in the dark, he loves it. He loves
That's
it.
awesome.
He's doing so well.
I think it's developmentally too, because Jet has been in this darkness phase too. I have he's got 1, 2, 3. He's got 4 night lights,
Wow.
and he has to have the bathroom door completely open.
With the light on.
And he's 8,
Yeah.
which is probably about the time Juno was kind of scared. But it's his little creative mind going crazy.
Yeah.
With suspicion of oh, what's that? It's just
Yep.
he has, he likes being scared, but then he's just scared.
Yeah.
It's just
He's like,
so
I
funny.
scared myself. Damn
I
it."
know, it's so funny. It's I'm just honey, they're just bad dreams because you're too creative.
Right.
Stop being so creative.
That's right. That's right.
It's your imagination getting the best of you.
Right.
Getting excited for is he excited for Halloween? Does he even get excited? I mean,
Yeah.
what? He's almost 11.
He's
I don't even know
excited.
if that's the age.
Yeah, he loves Halloween. I think he's going as a stormtrooper this year. He's really
Nice.
excited about it. And I have no idea. Yeah. Last year was the first time I've ever been trick-or-treating in my life. I was I freaked out. I was like, oh my god, I've been missing this for 31 years. It's so good. And yeah, the kids had fun too.
It's fun when the houses actually do something fun.
Yeah.
Jet's actually going as something scary. Have you heard of Five Nights at Freddy's?
Oh god, yeah.
Oh my god, so
Oh,
scary.
my God. That's all the kids talk about
I
these
know,
days.
but he's
Oh.
never seen it. But he
Okay.
knows about it. So
Yeah.
it's just weird. It's
Yeah.
there's not even a show. You have not even seen it.
Exactly.
But he's seen a commercial for it or something. And
Yep, the
Yeah.
same with Jonah
Yeah.
and Dario.
I'm
They talk
it's
about it
so
all the time.
scary.
Y'all haven't even seen it.
we
what
need to
is
get
it?
our dudes together.
That would be
Put him
awesome.
down in the basement. They'll have fun.
Turn the lights off. Y'all figure it out.
So what's next for you?
What is next? Well,
Going to work later.
yeah, going to work later. I'm enjoying normalcy and being back at the cave.
I bet.
It's awesome. So we've got some downtime. We have a show November 11th, with the $2 Pistols at the Garage in Winston-Salem, which I'm really, really excited about.
I'm excited.
I
about
love the Garage.
Yeah.
That's a great venue. So I'm excited about that. Then we have a short, I think we've got a 4 or 5 day run at the end of November, beginning of December, going up to New York. And then things
That'll
will
be fun.
yeah, things are gonna slow down for a little bit, and I think it's sort of the getting all of our ducks in a row, downtime kind of thing. And then I think we're doing South by Southwest again in March, which this past March we did 7 shows in 4 days. It was a complete marathon. It was fun. It was a lot of fun, but it was just whew, it's a lot of gear moving.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, and we're releasing years April of 2018.
I can't wait
And
for the
so
next.
yeah, when that
release
comes
party.
out, it'll just be, relentless onslaught of touring. So
Yeah.
I'm enjoying the time while I can.
Well, Sarah, thank you so much for coming and talking to us.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anything you want to share on the podcast before we go?
God.
We don't know how we're doing. I mean, this is our second one. We don't even know what we're doing.
No, y'all are great.
Yeah.
It's just
We try.
This
This
is-
is my friends.
Yeah, this is our ploy to get our friends.
Yeah,
together.
exactly. We have to
Please come be on our podcast.
Yeah. No, I do. I promise you guys dinner.
Oh, cool.
Right.
Yeah.
yeah.
I've been promising that for 2 years.
Yeah, that would be awesome.
Yes. Yeah.
All right.
Sounds
Well.
good. Y'all come be on Phil and Shannon's podcast.
Yeah.
They'll make you coffee.
Right.
They're real nice.
Especially
folks.
when you're trying to wake up.
Exactly.
All right. Well, thanks so much.
Thanks
Thank
for having
you.
me.
And
Love you.
We'll see everybody
Love you
on
too.
down the road.
All right. Bye.
Bye.